Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks a lot for watching. So about a year or so ago, I did a video on what's wrong if your trolling motor, an ultrex or a fortrex, won't lock down into position. And it's these brackets, but I didn't show you how to change these pivot brackets. So I'm gonna go through here right now, step by step. This is something now that I check on a regular basis, at least 2-3 times a year. And some of the signs you'll see that you need to replace these. One is that your motor won't lock down into place properly. Or if you happen to see little pieces of plastic anywhere around your deck or down there where you sit, chances are it's plastic from these bushings. So when you're doing this, some of the tools you're going to need is a set of Allen keys. You're going to need various different sizes and one really small one. In my case, I've already replaced this a couple times and the bolts broke. So the bolts that I found to replace it didn't have stock like Minn Kota, which has this type of a star. What I put in is an Allen key type bolt. But I'm going to go ahead and put stock Minn Kota ones back in now. This is the kit you can buy. And I just bought it online. If you can find a service center or something that carries them, that's great. So this is the pivot arm bracket, whatever you want to call it, and this is the plastic bushing piece that always seems to fail. If anybody's watching this that can make one of these a better quality that's not going to fail so much, that would be awesome. And if you do, please contact me and hook me up with that. So there's one for each side in here. And one thing I better show you is right on the end, there's a very small hole, and that is for a set screw that is also an Allen key. That's right here on the end, but we'll get to that later. So the first thing we're gonna do is take your motor off, and that's just this one bolt here on top if you have a fortrex or an ultrex. So let's go ahead and get the motor off. So let's go ahead, get our motor off. At least it's really easy to take off. In my case here, I have a lot going on here. Spring of the year. I don't have the boat all put together yet. That's good there. I'm just going to lean that there. Now when you pop this open, it's going to have some force to it. So you want to hold it and control that until you can feel the spring is no longer activated on it. Okay, so now we got that down. We're going to need this big Phillips screwdriver, and we're going to take this cover off. Be sure not to lose these screws. And when you're putting it back on, it doesn't hurt to stick a wee dab of blue Loctite on there. Don't use the red stuff, you'll never get it off again. Careful. Hopefully I can get this all off here with the screws. Oh, I lost one. But that's okay, it's just right here. Get him back in there. Okay. Now you can see I got it all uncovered, and here's our problem part right here. I can already see it's all busted already. I'll show you that a little bit closer. So as you can see, this plastic here has already failed. It's broken all around in there. And that'll let this shift slightly, and eventually these bolts will break off. I could tell it needed done because I've got a lot of play in there, and I shouldn't have that much play in there. So no problem, let's go ahead and we'll get this thing all fixed up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this other side off. I'm going to do both sides at once, but I'll probably just film this one side, but both sides are exactly the same. So I'll go ahead, stop here for a sec, and take this other side off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take both these off, so all 4 of these bolts. And that's going to totally remove this from this. Wow, as I'm unscrewing this, I can already tell that this was going to get bad here very shortly. As I'm unscrewing these bolts, they feel bent on this side, which is going to happen as soon as that plastic fails. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's just not going to be any good for support at all. Yep, that's definitely all bent. So I just want to show you here how bent this one bolt is. Look at that. Hopefully you can see it on camera. That's really bent. So I was going to have a bad failure here in no time, I'm sure. This is one of those things that you should definitely check on at least once or twice a year, especially if you use it a lot. It takes a lot of torque and abuse on your boat. Okay, now as you can see, the way that sits in there like that, that slot, you can wiggle it out now. And there you have this arm totally separate from the main bracket. As you can see, this side is definitely taking some wear, but this side is totally bad. This plastic is all broken and no good whatsoever. So what you need to do once you get to this point is you actually need to go ahead, release the rope to release the tension on all of this. Be careful when you do it. Make sure it's controlled. You have everything held. Try not to pinch your fingers. And then you can go ahead and we can get at this thing here. So, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these little set screws out of here that hold it to this pin. Very careful not to lose these. I don't have extras. Now what you need to do is push this pin through a little bit. Got our plastic sleeve out of there. This sleeve actually looks all right. This one is totally failed. So I'll keep the one that's good for another extra. Now, you just kind of wiggle that around. You know, I'm not an authorized tech or anything, so there could be a better way to do this, but I sure couldn't find it. Okay, and there is our pivot bracket. This seems to still be okay. I can reuse this, so I'll keep it as a spare, but I definitely like putting new ones on instead. You can see how that just all holds together in there. There is some grease in there. I'll slide that pin. So just pop out. Okay. Again, this one looks usable again for sure. So now I'm gonna get new ones out of my kit. There's that one. So you just take your new one, slide it up in here, however you can. I need to get my pin back through on that side. Now be careful, don't push this pin all the way out. There's a little washer here on that pin, okay? I mean, the good thing about knowing how to do this is if you're on the water and you have a failure like this, you're gonna know how to fix it. It could definitely save your tournament day or your tournament weekend. It's good to know your boat. It's good to know your equipment and how things go together. So as you can see, now these plastic sleeves will just wiggle on and fit only one way. You want to make sure that the plastic sleeve goes on the same direction that it came off. I'm going to tell you that if you have it positioned like this, that the flat part should go away from you, but I don't, you know, because when this closes up again and locks, that's going to be flat where we set it in. But I don't want to assume that it's always like that, because depending on your motor or you know what your circumstance may be. Like I said, I'm no Minn Kota tech or anything, so this could change, but I highly doubt it. So now I'm gonna put our pin back where it needs to be, and you'll see there's little slots for this set screw. So go ahead on your new piece, screw your set screw back in. Okay, you want those nice and snug. I do gotta apologize for all the noise, guys. You know, I am outside and it's a nice day out in the spring. Everybody's doing lots of different stuff, but bear with me here, we'll get the job done. So that is basically installed now. So what you want to do, like I said, is you want to push this back into place where it's locked. It helps to pull your string. This is actually quite hard to do. To me, this is by far the worst part. There, I got it locked in there. Turn it back around. I lost my plastic piece doing that. That's okay. I can go ahead here and put it back in. Can you see how you can maneuver this? Look at all that gap in there. And that's all that this plastic piece does, right? Okay. You want to make sure these are all pushed in nice and snug the way it should be. And then we're going to drop it into these slots. So what we want to do is get it on in this on either side the same way it came out. But now what's going to happen is you have this nice new plastic bushing in there that's tight, and it's going to be a little tricky. Okay. So there we have that in there. So now that you have this set in place, take a look at this. Hopefully you can see that. So when you move this up and down, look at all that play. So you're gonna have to play with this when you're putting those bolts back in and adjust it slightly up and down to get the holes lined up exactly. And be really careful not to strip out those threads. If you do, you're gonna need to put a whole new pivot bracket in or get it tapped out or something. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead now and start working on that. I'd highly suggest to start off by hand threading so you can get a good feel whether or not it's going in right or not. I can already tell that one's not. As you can see, this is the trickiest part of the job. See how easy that one screwed in? That's how that should be. That's when you know you have it right. Look, I've almost screwed it all the way in by hand. And when you know you have it lined up right, that's how easy it should go in. Don't just start it and then start using tools. You're gonna strip the threads. Like I said, this part is definitely the most tedious, but we're almost done. You've done a nice little maintenance job on your trolling motor. And like I said, it could save your tournament day or a weekend. Yep, perfect. See how nice that one's threading in again? Now when you get one side on, don't tighten it down. Leave it a bit loose so there's room to adjust on the other side. I'm not going to film doing the other side just because it's pretty redundant, right? So I'm going to fiddle with these bolts on the other side. Going to get them all done up, and then we're almost done. So please, if you found this helpful, or if you have anything else that you might like me to talk about, please go ahead, leave some comments. I love reading comments, good and bad. Nothing wrong with a little criticism, so I can improve on things. Always trying to do that. So thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to finish this up. I'll definitely show you that. Let's just get into some fast forward here. So when you do your final tightening here, do them like you would a tire, crisscross. So tighten one, then the opposite one, then tighten the other one, and then the opposite one. I'm going to give them all an extra snug, make sure that when I did them up, they all didn't pull the other one a little loose. Perfect. Okay, so that's basically the job done. Now, as you can hopefully see, I'll try to get a little closer here, that when I shake this, there is really no wobble back and forth like there was before. So once I get the motor back on and I lay it all down, it should lock right into place perfectly like it should. I will tell you though, however, I've adjusted this at the last of the season because it wasn't locking down right, but I only had like a week or two to go. So I adjusted my pole. So I may have to adjust that, but other than that, we should be good to go. Okay, so this is going to take some force to get this down. Pull on your wire to make it easier. Lock it into place. Okay. There you can see your nice new pivot arms all installed nice and tight. Everything's good. One thing to do to prevent this, which I have on order, I'll do an install of it when it arrives, is a troll tamer. So I'm going to screw it into the top of here. And when it goes onto my deck, it's going to lock right to the deck. Hopefully it'll save me from having to replace these pivot arms as much. So I've been replacing these once a year. That's really easy to get on there. When you installed your motor, you would have had to do that. So you know how easy that is. Now again, with this bolt, when you're putting it on, you'll feel it kind of stick. I just kind of rock it a little bit, and that tends to loosen it right up. Tighten that down. You don't want to over tighten this either. Okay. Now you can put these guards on after. So what I want to do is I want to test and make sure that this is all going to work the way that it's supposed to. And just like that, trolling motor locked into place perfectly. Super solid, not going anywhere. Okay guys, well that about wraps it up. That's the replacement of your pivot brackets, pivot arm brackets, whatever you want to call them. Hopefully that helps you out. You should always keep a set of these in the boat and the tools to do it. You never know when you're gonna need to do this, especially if you fish big water like Lake Ontario, the St. Lawrence, any of you guys fishing like Lake Erie, stuff like that. Definitely keep these on hand and know how to do this. So thanks a lot again for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, you know, all that usual YouTube jazz. So take care.